Hello everybody and welcome back to Cryptid Saturdays. I already did all of the US states and I thought a good way to bring it back would be to move on to the US territories, and unfortunately for me, alphabetically, the first one of these is the District of Columbia, which for those of you that do not know is the 68.3 square mile area located on the Potomac River between Virginia and Maryland, or as it's more commonly known, Washington D.C. And I'm not gonna lie, I almost skipped this one entirely. I thought there is no way there could be cryptids there. Ghosts? Sure. Aliens? Maybe. Lizard people that control the government? That's another video. But then I actually came across an article from Local Legends literally titled Legendary Cryptids Lurking in the District of Columbia. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look, and like always, link to that article will be in the description down below, and please go show them some love. But before we get into all that, guys, I am trying to reach 1,100 subscribers by the end of April. We're about halfway there as of recording this video, and if you guys could help me out there, it would be highly appreciated. Now let's get into the video. Our first stop on the supernatural tour is the Snallygaster, a fearsome creature that has haunted the region since the 1700s. The name Snallygaster itself has a fascinating origin, evolving from the German term Schnellergeist, which translates to quick spirit. It's a fitting moniker for a beast said to move with lightning speed and strike terror into the hearts of those who cross its path. The legend of the Snallygaster was first reported by German immigrants who settled in the area, bringing with them tales of dragon-like creatures that stalk the countryside. Over time, the name morphed into the peculiar Snallygaster we know today, a testament to the way folklore evolves and adapts as it passes through generations and cultures. So what exactly is a Snallygaster? Accounts vary, but most agree that this cryptid is a terrifying sight to behold. Imagine a chimera, a monstrous amalgamation of various creatures. The Snallygaster is often described as having features of a dragon, a bird, and most bizarrely, tentacles protruding from its mouth. Some reports paint the Snallygaster as a dragon with a single cyclopean eye, while others emphasize its bird-like qualities such as wings and a sharp beak. But the most unsettling detail, the one that sets the Snallygaster apart from the other dragon-like cryptids, is the presence of those writhing serpentine tentacles. It's a feature that adds an extra layer of otherworldly horror to an already frightened creature. While the Snallygaster's origins lie in the 1700s, it was in the early 20th century that this cryptid really made a name for itself. In 1909, a Middleton Valley Register, a local newspaper, published a series of articles about a one-eyed dragon terrorizing the good people of western Maryland. The beast was said to swoop down from the sky, snatch up livestock and even small children, and carry them off to its lair. The Snallygaster's reign of terror didn't stop at the Maryland border either. Sightings were reported in neighboring West Virginia, suggesting that this winged menace had a wide hunting range. The stories became so widespread that even President Teddy Roosevelt allegedly took notice. And I'm pretty sure we went over the Snallygaster in the Cryptids of Virginia video. According to local legend, Roosevelt was so intrigued by the Snallygaster stories that he considered postponing an African safari in 1909 to hunt the beast himself. While this tale remains unconfirmed, I can't help but imagine the bespectacled, mustachioed president trampling through the Maryland woods, trusty rifle in hand, in hot pursuit of this tentacled quarry. It's a mental image that perfectly captures the Snallygaster's place in public imagination at the time. And then it says the Snallygaster's demise. After the flurry of sightings in 1909, the Snallygaster faded into relevance, obscured for a time. But like any good monster, it couldn't have stayed hidden forever. In 1932, the Snallygaster made headlines, once again reigniting the public's fascination with this bizarre creature. According to local lore, the Snallygaster met a rather ignominious end that year. The story goes that the beast was attracted to the potent fumes wafting from a moonshiner's vat of whiskey mash. Unable to resist the allure of the alcohol, the Snallygaster flew too close to the vat, becoming overwhelmed by the fumes and drowned in the intoxicating liquid. It's a strange and somewhat anticlimactic conclusion to the Snallygaster story, but one that's in keeping with the cryptid's quirky reputation. Obviously, I don't think the Snallygaster could have actually been a real cryptid itself, but what I think after this particular description of one could have been is actually maybe just like a turkey vulture, and that would explain like the bird-like features, but also like the naked scaly head And turkey vultures get really big, and or maybe even condors back then. I don't know if they were that prevalent when these sightings were first being brought about, but it could have just been something big like that. And then maybe it kind of like got mixed in with tales of like eagles trying to carry off kids, and like these birds myths all kind of conjoined together. That might actually even explain the moonshiner's vat, because it probably smelled like something fermenting, and that probably attracted like smaller creatures which died in the vat and caused the bird to get in there and die. So that's kind of my thought on what the snallogaster could have been if it were a real thing. So this next one's kind of not a cryptid per se, because it's literally called the demon cat of Capitol Hill, but it's also the only one of these that you can tie like directly to the Capitol, so I thought we might as well go over it. Leaving the rural winds of Maryland behind, we now turn our attention to the heart of Washington, D.C., where another cryptid is said to prowl the halls of power. The demon cat, or DC for short, is a spectral feline that haunts the basement of the U.S. Capitol building. Eyewitnesses describe encountering what appears to be an ordinary, unassuming tabby cat slinking through the shadowy corridors, but as the observer approaches, something strange and terrifying happens. The cat begins to grow, its form shifting and swelling until it reaches an enormous size. Just when the unfortunate witnesses things can't get any more bizarre, the demon cat lets out an unearthly yowl and leaps towards them, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. But before the beast can make contact, it vanishes into thin air, leaving the observer questioning their sanity and the very nature of reality. The demon cat's appearances have been documented for well over a century. The first official record of this spectre feline dates back to the Civil War era, when it was mentioned in the Congressional Record. Even then, it seems the demon cat was up to its old tricks, materializing out of the darkness to terrorize unsuspecting passerby. In 1935, Washington Post published an article that delved into the demon cat's legend. The piece described that cat's glowing eyes and the aura of ferocity that surrounded it, painting a vivid picture of this Capitol Hill haunt. It's clear that the demon cat had already cemented its place in local lore by this time. Then it says haunting grounds. While the demon cat is most commonly associated with the U.S. Capitol building basement, it seems this ghostly feline doesn't limit itself to just one haunt. Sightings have also been reported in the White House, suggesting that the demon cat has a taste for the corridors of power. I have to wonder if the demon cat has ever interrupted a late-night Oval Office meeting or caused a visiting dignitary to do a double take. That says ongoing legend. Despite its long history, the legend of the demon cat shows no signs of fading away. Capitol Hill staffers still whisper about this feline phantom, swapping stories and warning newcomers to keep an eye out for any unusually large tabbies prowling the basement. As a cryptozoologist, I have to approach these tales with a healthy dose of skepticism, but I also can't help but be intrigued by the sheer longevity of the demon cat legend. Whether there's any truth to these stories or not, the fact that they've persisted for so long says something about our fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. At this point, I just want you guys to imagine President Trump walking around the White House being chased by a giant cat. And that's really all I kind of have to say about that. I love how certain like myths about ghosts and like hauntings and things like that can actually just persist from crazy old times in history, like a ghost on battlefields and things like that. So it's really kind of interesting. So, I mean, there's been cats in the White House. That's established. You guys can look up videos and pictures of them. That's not that big of a deal. And to have a cat prowling around the hallways of the White House looking for mice makes a lot of sense. But a ghost one is actually just kind of really funny that's the one that everybody likes to talk about and warn people about. The fearsome bunny man. Origins in Fairfax County, Virginia. Hopping across the Potomac River, we find ourselves in Fairfax County, Virginia, the stomping ground of one of the most bizarre cryptids on our list, the bunny man. The origins of the bunny man legend are as murky as they are unsettling. According to one popular version of the tale, the story begins in the early 1900s with a breakout at nearby asylum. The asylum, which housed the criminally insane, was shuttered and its patients were to be transferred to a new facility. But during the transfer, one of the buses transporting the patients crashed, allowing its dangerous cargo to escape into the surrounding woods. Most of the patients were eventually rounded up, but one, Douglas Griffin, remained at large. In the days that followed, a grisly scene was discovered in the forest, a trail of half-eaten, mutilated rabbit carcasses. hanging from the trees like some sort of macabre decoration. Despite an extensive search, Griffin was never found, and the area was left with a chilling new legend, the Bunnyman. His 1970s reign of terror. The Bunnyman legend might have faded into obscurity if not for a series of bizarre events in the 1970s that thrust this cryptid back into the spotlight. In October of 1970, a young couple was parked in a car near the infamous Bunnyman Bridge in Fairfax County. Without warning, a figure emerged from the darkness, brandishing an axe, but this was no ordinary attacker. The figure was dressed in a white bunny costume, complete with long ears and a fuzzy tail. The couple watched in horror as the Bunnyman began hacking at their car with his axe, screaming incoherently. They managed to escape, but not before the Bunnyman hurled his weapon through the car's window, narrowly missing the terrified occupants. Just weeks later, a security guard at a nearby unaccompanied house had his own run-in with the Bunnyman. The guard spotted the figure still clad in his bunny costume chopping at the house's front porch with an axe. When the guard approached, the Bunnyman whirled around and screamed at him, ranting about trespassing. These incidents, which were reported in local newspapers at the time, cemented the Bunnyman's place in the annals of Virginian folklore. Suddenly, this axe-wielding figure in a bunny costume became the stuff of legend, a boogeyman used to scare children and thrill-seeking teenagers alike. Bunnyman Bridge's enduring allure. The epicenter of the Bunnyman legend is a small, unassuming bridge in Fairfax County known as Bunnyman Bridge. It's here that the Bunnyman is said to lurk, waiting for unsuspecting victims to cross his path. Over the years, Bunnyman Bridge has become a magnet for thrill seekers and curiosity seekers alike. Many locals have made a tradition of visiting the bridge on Halloween night, hoping for a glimpse of the infamous Bunnyman. Some even claim to have seen the figure darting through the woods or heard the sound of his axe echoing in the darkness. And that's the crux of legends like this, though. They always start out as a real thing that happened. Like in this case, a real bus from a real insane asylum really did crash, and they really didn't manage to round up all of the escapees. And there's just one mentally messed up person killed a bunch of rabbits, and did this weird thing with them, and they happened to find it, and then this whole legend just breaks loose from it. And then parents start using that legend to scare their kids. And then that becomes cemented in like the local folklore to the point where people who just want to scare the crap out of people start just using the legend. Or some other person with a mental problem comes in and then starts using an axe to try and attack people. And it just all kind of just rolls in from there. And then eventually a scary movie is made about it. And I don't know if there's one about the Bunnyman, but if there is, please leave it in the comments down below, because I think that'd be kind of a fun one to watch. But it's really nice. It's hard to say that one's a cryptid per se, but it's kind of a fun local legend. Chessie, the Chesapeake Bay sea serpent. Named in homage to the Loch Ness Monster, moving from land to sea, we come to the tale of Chessie, the legendary sea serpent said to inhabit the waters of the Chesapeake Bay. Chessie's name is a playful nod to the bay's location and a wink to another infamous cryptid, the Loch Ness Monster, affectionately known as Nessie. It's fitting that Chessie would be named after its Scottish cousin, as the two cryptids share many similarities. Both are said to be long serpentine creatures with a penchant for popping up unexpectedly and sparking the imaginations of those who claim to have seen them. Sightings date back to 1936. Chessie may not have the centuries-long history of some of the other cryptids in our list, but this sea serpent has still managed to make quite a splash in the relatively short time it's been part of the public consciousness. The earliest reported sighting of Chessie dates back to 1936, when a fisherman claimed to have seen a long snake-like creature undulating through the waters of the bay. Since then, there have been sporadic sightings of Chessie throughout the decades. Each report adds a new layer to the legend, with the eyewitnesses describing a creature that seems to defy explanation. So what does Chessie look like? Descriptions vary, as they often do with cryptids, but there are some common threads that run through the sightings. Most eyewitnesses agree that Chessie is a long serpentine creature, not unlike a giant snake or eel. Some reports get more specific, describing Chessie as having a horse-like head and flippers instead of fins. This description has led some to speculate that Chessie could be a surviving prehistoric reptile, or a relic from the time of the dinosaurs that has somehow managed to avoid detection in the modern era. One of the most intriguing Chessie sightings came in 1980 when a farmer claimed to have seen a 30-foot-long creature swimming in the Potomac River. The farmers, who wished to remain anonymous, described the beast as having a snake-like body and a head that resembled a horse's. This sighting sparked a flurry of speculation about Chessie's true nature. Some experts suggest that the creatures could have been an escaped anaconda, a giant snake relative to South America, that had somehow found its way to the Chesapeake Bay. Others dismissed the sighting entirely, chalking it up to a case of mistaking identity or an overactive imagination. The real crux of it when it comes to ocean creatures in general is that there's so much stuff in the water, especially water connected to an ocean like Chesapeake Bay, that it could literally be anything from snakes to seals to dolphins to large fish, oarfish, freaking pikes, things like that. Like, I don't know if there's pikes there, but just as an example, like, there's so many things that this could actually be. And the water is hard to tell because, like, reflections happen, and so you can get different shapes, and the water moves, and that distorts things. And scale is really hard to do with water because a lot of times you've got nothing to compare it to, so things can look a lot bigger than it's supposed to be. So it's hard for me to say exactly what this is, but it'd be really cool if somebody could one day actually find it out. But that was it, guys. That was all of the cryptids that I could find for Washington D.C. and some that aren't really near DC, but it was part of the article, so we just went ahead and read them anyway. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you guys know about any of these cryptids? Is there any other information you'd want me to go over about some of these cryptids? And is there any cryptids you'd like to see me just cover just as their own thing? I'd love to kind of just start doing deep dives into certain ones, and I could just use some pointers as to where to go and what you guys would like to see first. But until next time, though, guys, while you're in those comments, please remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video from me, and I will see you guys in the next video.